For joining us. This edition of news features flashback. That's a recap of some stories that made headlines during the week. But let's begin tonight with security. Today, governors and traditional rulers in northern Nigeria are calling for urgent action in establishment of state police. At a meeting earlier today in Kaduna State, the Northern Governors Forum and regional emirs demanded the National Assembly fast-track laws to establish state-controlled security forces, calling it a critical step in fighting the region's worsening insecurity. Senior reporter Lupe Asom brings us details.
Move to tackle rising insecurity, the Northern Governors Forum and traditional rulers convened in Kaduna to address escalating security challenges and other critical regional concerns.
A coordinated strategy encompassing investment in education, agriculture, youth employment, and local enterprise must be urgently devised. Equally, traditional institutions must be empowered to play stronger roles in intelligence gathering and community policing. Posterity will not forgive inaction. Let us lead with courage, compassion, and commitment to real change. I must not conclude this welcome address without commending President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, G7, for his unwavering commitment to addressing the infrastructural deficit in northern Nigeria.
The meeting quickly moved into a closed-door session, culminating in a communique that revealed the governor's strong demand for state police. They also urged the National Assembly to fast-track the necessary legal framework.
The resurgence of Boko Haram activities in some parts of the northeast and the outbreak of violent killings in the north-central call for immediate review of strategies and greater synergy between the federal, state, and local security architecture. The forum also reiterated its support for the creation of state police and called on the National Assembly to expedite action on the enactment of the legal framework for its takeoff.
The governors also plan to collaborate with the Nigerian Governors Forum to bolster federal security agencies on key issues, including monitoring of porous borders.
The forum also resolved to strengthen peculiar local initiatives in combating all forms of security challenges. The forum also resolved to urgently set up interstate platforms to coordinate surveillance on our joint borders.
The leaders praised President Tinubu's efforts or stressed the need for local solutions, including grassroots security initiatives. However, the governor's resolution did not provide a clear timeline for the execution of these measures. But with the next meeting set for August, all eyes are on whether these resolutions will translate into actions. For now, residents of the north are hopeful that this marks a turning point in the region's security. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
Now, Governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, joins me on the news at 10. Good to have you join us, Mr. Governor. Governor Uba Sani, thank you for joining us. I want to be sure that you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. We understand that a central concern at the meeting of the Northern State Governors Forum is a resurgence of Boko Haram attacks and then the violent killings in North Central region. In that report, I heard Governor Yahaya talking about the review of the country's strategy. What's your recommendation in that regard?
Thank you very much. Of course, we look at what happened, particularly the incident in Borno, incident in Yobe, as well as the crisis that happened, which is more of a communal one, in Plateau, as well as the incident in Benue State, as well as the insurgency, banditry in states like Zamfara, Katsina, Niger. Of course, we also listen carefully to the position of traditional rulers because in our last meeting in Kaduna, we deliberated on most of these issues and we formed a committee headed by the Sultan of Sokoto. We also mandated them to go around and deepen consultation with relevant communities across the 19 northern states and they came up with a report. And we looked at the report carefully, even before the meeting it was sent to us. And of course, as governors, we sat down also collectively and deliberated on the way forward, even before the meeting. And of course, we agreed on a number of issues. And that was the reason why when we had the meeting, we looked at those areas. And of course, we believe we need to do a lot in addressing most of the issues that have to do with the borders. Because for instance, if we don't collaborate and address the issue collectively, because for instance, in Kaduna here, we share borders with Zamfara State, Niger State, Katsina State. So these are the areas we're talking about. No matter how much, as a governor of Kaduna State, we invested in addressing the problem or try as much as possible to address the issue of insecurity, if we don't look at the borders, of course, we can achieve nothing. And that was the reason why in our meeting today, we also look at more strategies toward further collaboration. That's number one. Number two, also look at the areas of engaging more with relevant security agencies. And of course, supporting the security agencies, whether the military, the Air Force, or the police. So these are the areas we critically look at in our meetings today. And we came with some very important resolutions in our community.
And Mr. Governor, I want to get to that important resolution, because one of them is that you have called on the National Assembly to fast-track the bill on the creation of state police. The National Assembly has delayed this for years. So what's your concrete plan to pressure them into passing this bill as soon as possible? And then what timeline are you looking at?
Of course, yes, the reason why the National Assembly actually delayed this issue, which I want to call on the media like you and many other relevant groups in Nigeria, whether non-governmental organizations, the media, they need to also try as much as possible to also come up with very strong support. Because if you agree with me, the issue of state police, an idea that time has come, whether we like it or not. Some of us, someone like me, I sponsored the bill for the creation of state police when I was in the Senate, in the 9th Senate. The Senate of the 9th Senate passed the bill, but we lost it at the level of conference committee with the House of Reps. I can remember vividly. And of course, because of some fears, some people were alleging that the governors will hijack it at that time. And I was sponsoring the bill. I wasn't a governor, but I believe it was something that was very important at that time. Today, I'm happy. All the 36 governors made submission at the level of National Economic Council meeting, and we all agree, except one state, but 35 states agree on the creation of state police. That is number one. Number two, the House of Reps and the Senate, to my understanding, have agreed collectively that it is important for them to quickly come up with the creation of state police. But I'm happy the House of Reps are leading today. They have already done the second reading, and I can assure you, we will push them as governors. Because today, when I'm talking about 35 state governors, agree on the creation of state police. And I have no doubt in my mind. Even President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I had many conversations with him on this issue. And as someone who was with me during the struggle for the enthronement of democracy in Nigeria, we believe in true federalism. He believed in true federalism because I could remember vividly during our struggle for the enthronement of democracy in Nigeria. We believe that powers must be decentralized. The issue of security should be addressed properly where we decentralize it. So for me, I have no doubt in my mind. At this very critical point, state police certainly will happen, but the timeline is important because we need it as soon as possible.
All right, so Mr. Governor, you've talked about the fears around state police, which is that people believe that governors will use it as a tool of repression on residents who perhaps do not agree with some of their policies. Those fears are still there. How do you hope to address them and win the hearts of Nigerians to support you on this? That's one. And then the issue of funding is also there. How do you hope to fund state police when it is created? Because there are vigilantes in states that are not also well funded.
Let me be very clear to you here. Issue of security is very important. When we're talking about the issue of healthcare, issue of education, issue of infrastructure, they cannot be possible when there's insecurity. So we don't talk about Naira and Kobo when we're talking about issue of saving the lives and properties of our people. Well, let's leave the issue of funding. It's very important and we must fund it. That for me, I can tell you. Because I can tell you there are some states that cannot even address the issue of infrastructure because of security problem. Let me give you one example. The road between Kaduna, Abuja to Kaduna, to Zaire to Kano was abandoned. When I asked the question many times as a senator, the contractors kept telling me they cannot construct that road between Kaduna, Abuja to Kano, which is less than 200 kilometers. But today I'm happy. We've just resumed. The road they have started the reconstruction of that road. Why? Because today you can travel from Abuja to Kaduna with your eyes closed without any problem. Security issue is very important, even when you want to address this infrastructure, healthcare, and education. That is number one. Number two, the issue of fears. Let me also address that. When you are crafting law, I was a lawmaker and I sponsored many bills. 3 of them were assented by the former president that became law. It depends on the drafters of the law. So there cannot be any abuse if this law is crafted in such a way that you will not allow governors to abuse it. That is the issue, that's how to address it. That was the reason why at the beginning of your question, you are talking about the National Assembly. National Assembly are the people that will make this law, not governors. But at the same time, there will be engagement by the relevant stakeholders, experts in security, through public hearing, and it must go to the 36 states House of Assemblies, at least 2/3 must endorse it. So how do we now bring the issue of abuse by the state governors? Well, the state governors are not the one to craft this law. It's the National Assembly members. So that also, I can tell you, is addressed. All this issue of abuse by the state governors, we made it clear when I was sponsoring the bill at the level of the Ninth Senate, I made it clear that where there is conflict, federal police will take precedence, just like many other countries around the world. That is number one. Number two, you can craft state police in the crafters of that law or the bill can make it clear that they should only focus on criminality, not on the issue of political issues. That is how to solve the problem. So please, let's relegate the issue of politics and focus on addressing the issue of insecurity, whether we like it or not. You and I will agree that in Nigeria, we have a lot of ungoverned space in this country. And I want you to read our Firearms Act in Nigeria. You will agree with me that all these vigilance services you're talking about, Amotokun in the Southwest, they don't have the legal authority to hold AK-47. They don't even cannot hold any firearms that is sophisticated. So when you send them out, you are sending them at least to death sentence. That is the issue. So they cannot address the problem. We have to, whether we like it or not, like I said, we must agree that time has come that we must create the state police, whether we like it or not, if we want to address the issue of insecurity in our country, because we are lacking boots on ground as of today.
Governor Obasanjo, a pleasure to have you on, Governor of Kaduna State. We'll see more measures that the northern governors will take in this regard. A pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much. Pleasure having you too. Thank you.